Hi, my name is Robert Kohler, and I am a Commissioner of Deeds for the state of Florida. I am one of about 80 Commissioners of Deeds that are currently serving. It's definitely less than 100. What is a Commissioner of Deeds? Commissioner of Deeds is a public officer appointed by the governor for a term of 4 years. And a Commissioner of Deeds can perform 3 different types of acts. A commissioner can take acknowledgments, take proofs of execution, and administer oaths. But these 3 acts can only be performed in connection with a real estate transaction relating to a timeshare that's located in Florida when the transaction is occurring outside the state of Florida. Now, that may sound kind of confusing, but basically, my jurisdiction as a Commissioner of Deeds is worldwide. I can perform my duties as a Commissioner of Deeds anywhere outside of the state of Florida and outside of the 50 states, outside of the continental United States plus Alaska and Hawaii. I can perform my duties as a Commissioner of Deeds. So, what are these 3 acts? Acknowledgments. An acknowledgment is a declaration by a person who is signing a document wherein they declare that they have signed the document voluntarily and for the intentions expressed therein. So, for purposes of a Commissioner of Deeds, this would involve the signer of a deed or a mortgage relating to a timeshare acknowledging before a commissioner that they executed that deed or mortgage freely and voluntarily for the purpose of purchasing this property or for whatever the purposes are of the document. So that's one of the 3 acts. The second one is a proof of execution, and that is an act wherein somebody who witnessed a person signing a document, the witness appears before the commissioner and under oath swears that the document was signed by the person whose signature appears thereon, that they were present and saw the document being signed. It's basically another form of acknowledgement that's acceptable in some but not all jurisdictions. The third act is administering oaths. For all practical purposes, this means that if somebody's executing, let's say, an affidavit relating to a timeshare in Florida, the transaction's occurring outside the 50 U.S. states, the commissioner would ask the person to swear or affirm that the information contained in the document is true, and then the person must answer in the affirmative. So those are the 3 types of acts. So I am on my 3rd term as a Commissioner of Deeds. My first term, I was appointed by Governor Charlie Crist in 2009. I was appointed as a Commissioner of Deeds for the state of Florida in the Bahamas, which means that I could act in the Bahamas for real estate transactions relating to timeshares in Florida. When I did my second appointment, I wanted to extend my jurisdiction, so I applied for and I received my appointment as a Commissioner of Deeds for the state of Florida in all the nations of the British Commonwealth and international waterways. So the British Commonwealth would include the UK, Australia, New Zealand, Jamaica, Cayman Islands. Basically, the majority of nations that were at one time part of the British Empire are Commonwealth countries and would be considered as part of my jurisdiction under that appointment. And international waterways is specifically allowed by Florida statutes that a commissioner can be appointed to serve in international waterways so that a Commissioner of Deeds could be stationed on a ship, such as a cruise ship, where they were doing timeshare sales. My 3rd and current appointment, I was appointed by Governor Rick Scott in December of 2017, and It appears that they have stopped doing appointments to specific jurisdictions. So my current appointment is just as General Commissioner of Deeds for the state of Florida, which means that my jurisdiction is worldwide, everywhere outside of the 50 U.S. states. And there has historically been appointments of Commissioner of Deeds for the state of Florida in other states, even though that is not specifically authorized by statute. The governor has appointed commissioners of deeds in other states. So it could be argued that my jurisdiction includes the 50 states other than Florida. My jurisdiction definitely does not include Florida, because anything that's acknowledged or sworn to in Florida should be executed before a notary public in and for the state of Florida. The office of Commissioner of Deeds is very much like the office of Notary Public, except a Commissioner of Deeds has far more limited powers than what a notary has. Notaries also have more strict requirements. They have to go through education process and meet certain residency requirements, language requirements, things of that nature. And notaries can also perform a wide variety of acts that commissioners cannot do. Commissioners are limited to what would be considered the traditional notarization of a signature being witnessed, a person being identified, your typical run-of-the-mill document that requires a notarization. Those are the types of things that a Commissioner of Deeds could handle. So to become appointed as a Commissioner of Deeds, it is a gubernatorial appointment. You have to apply, and the appointment process to become a Commissioner of Deeds is actually a lot more complex and takes a much longer time than it does to become appointed as a notary public, which doesn't really make sense. You would think that a notary public should have to go through stricter background requirements and so forth, but the background check that's done for notary applicants is far more limited. As a Commissioner of Deeds applicant, you have to go through a state and national background check, which goes through the Florida Department of Law Enforcement and also to the United States Department of Justice, Federal Bureau of Investigation. The whole process takes several months, and the appointments are handled like any other type of appointment, including judicial appointments. The governor has to make an appointment. The Secretary of State has to prepare the commission for the governor's signature, and it goes through the whole formal commissioning process. And as part of that process, a Commissioner of Deeds also has to take an oath of office, the same constitutional oath of office that is required of all public officers. So Commissioner of Deeds serves a unique role because it is a public officer of the state of Florida, but at the same time, a Commissioner of Deeds is a representative of the state of Florida in foreign countries. So it's almost like an honorary consul type position. You are an officer of the state of Florida who has been officially assigned to a specific jurisdiction, although that's not so much the case now that they're doing these general appointments. So the statutes that govern the appointment and powers of a Commissioner of Deeds is Chapter 721, Part 4, Florida statutes. That part is specifically reserved for Commissioners of Deeds. Now, just to go over the historical aspect of the office of Commissioner of Deeds, originally Commissioners of Deeds were appointed in the 1800s, and back in the time when there wasn't as much recognition between states of notaries, each state would appoint Commissioners of Deeds in other states, so that if somebody in Florida was purchasing property located in Texas, a Commissioner of Deeds for the state of Texas in the state of Florida would be able to preside over the execution of those real estate documents relating to land in Texas, which would allow those documents to be easily recorded in Texas without any type of certification needed as to the notary, because a common thing at that time was that notaries had to be authenticated the notarial certificate had to be authenticated by the county clerk, which that function has in modern times been replaced by the Secretary of State, which provides apostilles as well as certifications of notarial authority. But that's a subject for another video. So it's really an interesting position. I really feel very honored to have the position. It just really has been an honor to serve, especially under the excellent executive leadership of Governor Rick Scott, who has been the best governor the state of Florida has had in my career and lifetime. But I hope that this was informative about the Office of Commissioner of Deeds for the state of Florida. And if you have any questions, please leave your comments below. Thanks.